All right, y'all. Today we're taking a look at this boudoir photography business. We're gonna check its local and its city search. Gonna see if it's got BSS, things like that. And we're back here in the GVC universe, where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And more about that, pinned video, pinned post, home video, wherever, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So over on the left side here, well, we got FSIC, kind of a graph in white. Over on the left, the highest intent peeps searched on Google, searched on social media, social search for the highest, or for a boudoir photo shoot in their city right now. So we focus on those peeps. We make our videos about BSS. And wherever on the right, the lowest intent peeps, the only way to reach them is interruption ads via Facebook, Instagram. They ain't searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city right now, and most of them don't even know what boudoir is. So that's what we talk about over on our sister brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. Talk about BLCS, and over there right now, we currently only work with boudoir photographers spending more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so now into BSS, boudoir search sameness. So this one, a boudoir photographer has either zero or one slots on page 1 of Google. 0 slots is bad, that's a fast death, that means we're on page 2 or deeper, and we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page 2. They are one and done. So we're invisible to approximately 80% of the market if we're on page 2, which means we're going to be dying a fast death. One slot on page 1 is not good enough either, because there's 10 organic slots page 1. So it means there's could be 9 other boudoir photographers. Everyone else is 1 slot. So everyone else looks the same. Everyone else is 1 slot. Buyers simply, approximately 80% of buyers. So we got to click down everyone, every link on page 1. They're never even going to go to page 2 or anything deeper. But for the 10 that are there, they'll contact everyone, get quotes, price shop everyone, negotiate, stall, delay, blah, blah, blah. Just annoying way to run a business dealing with this. Now, 0 slots on page 1 Google is actually not normal. It's actually a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes, one, are market saturation, which basically everyone knows about now. People get a new iPhone, new phones, new cameras, new gear. They're throwing up their Google My Business profile sending out for boudoir. They are, throwing up their website sending out for boudoir, competing with us page 1 on Google search, posting in mom groups now from boudoir. This basically lowers margins for everyone, lowers price for everyone, decreases the probability, that anyone gets any buyers, because it's more sellers, boudoir photographers for the same number of buyers. Makes it harder for every single seller. And there's a big blast of this COVID. A ton of new boudoir photographers enter the market because everyone lost their jobs, had to earn money. Everyone's got a smartphone, super powered camera, so pretty easy kind of to see why that happened. Now, second, actually the biggest thing, which I've seen is the #1 killer of boudoir photography businesses, is the false belief of page 1 equality. And the false belief of page 1 equality, it's kind of like the automatic belief boudoir photographers have had is that, every boudoir photographer gets 0 slots page 1 on Google. So if your website ranks there, cool. And maybe you had it there and somebody else came and ranked their website ranked higher on Google page 1, took you down to push you out to page 2. And boudoir photographers are like, well, yeah, I'm on page 2 now. I guess I gotta hope they delete their website and Google de-indexes them, so that hopefully Google can put me back on page 1. But no, this is 100% a false belief. It's 100% incorrect. And I know this because I myself went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days using our new methodology we developed. So I know Google will give us as many slots on page 1 as we want to put in the effort to acquire. 100%. I know that is true, which makes the false belief of page 1 equality false. Now, we also know that boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer. That's because, if we got 0 slots page 1 on Google, we're only on page 2 or deeper, we're invisible to approximately 80% of Google searches. Yeah, we're disappearing and fast. Same if we only got 1 slot on page 1, we're still basically invincible, being price shopped to death. We're getting contact form fill outs, but price shopped, people gotta, they gotta save up for it. We know they ain't never buying. And as a result, both these are kind of the signal. Well, BSS, it's the signal. It's what makes us a disappearing boudoir photographer, but BSS itself is the signal that, the check engine light, the warning light that we're a disappearing boudoir photographer, which means our business is on the path itself to disappearing. That's what that means. But we did finally discover a solution. We discovered it because we invented it. So we've discovered that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S cubed methodology. And we invented this, and it works exactly as it says, S cubed methodology. Social search saturation. We're saturating social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords in our city. So we show up there, it's kind of like the snow at the top of the Andes Mountains on the backside, the eastern side in South America. So what happens with that snow is it melts, goes into small streams, small rivers, and eventually across the whole mountain range. It all actually flows to the Amazon River, which is the Amazon River is Google page 1. But we got to get our snow up top the mountains first. That's our social search saturation. And so when we rank there, get enough ranking there, then eventually flow onto Google page 1. Now, one of the interesting things, this is the only solution I've seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully fight back against market saturation and allow a boudoir photographer to grow their business even with more boudoir photographers entering the market every single day in a relatively quick time frame. And the only other solution I've seen that has a few of these properties is to actually have a large, well-known brand. That would definitely persist with market saturation. But dude, that takes like 5 to 10 years. That's not relatively quick. We ain't got time anymore. AI is coming to take more people's jobs every single day. We got to get page 1 domination, page 1 visibility ASAP. And so actually an interesting thing is my estimate is I believe SQ methodology actually executing it increase the probability of having a large well-known brand by speeds it up by my estimate is 8x. So 8 times faster to achieve that. And imagine if you got a large well-known brand and you're using SQ methodology. I mean, you're basically untouchable at that point. Now, for example, if SQ methodology successfully grown a business in spite of more and more market saturation or massive market saturation, imagine, let's say there are 1 million boudoir photographers in Fargo, North Dakota. We're one of them. Everyone's got a boudoir photography website trying to rank page 1 on Google. You know, there's only 10 organic slots for 1 million boudoir photographers, so ultra competitive. And we don't have enough time to build a brand, so our only hope, our only solution is S cubed methodology. And as a result, you know, we realize, hey man, we gotta crank this up to the max. So we do S cubed methodology, we crank it up to the max, and let's say we're getting like we take over the first 300 slots of social search for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. Take up those slots, and when we, as a result, let's say it flows onto Google, and say we're taking the first 300 Google organic slots as well for high intent boudoir buyer search. And what actually happens is Google search is 10 organic slots per page. So dude, we're taking like the first 30 pages of Google. So let's say we do that, and guess what? Anytime any boudoir buyer in our city is searching on social networks or in Google, then what actually happens is we're basically the only one they see across all surfaces. You know, I mean, if they want to find us an organic search result, we're basically the first 300. They got to go page like 31 to basically see any of our competitors. And approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page 2. They're page 1 only searches. Who the heck's going to page 31? So you can see how powerful this is. So obviously in this situation, whose business is growing? Most likely ours. Whose business is stalling, dying, disappearing? You know, the 999,999 other boudoir photographers who are competing, but no searchers can find them. And so this is what the magic of SQ methodology can enable. Now, once you're with SQ methodology, we now have page 1 visibility. Get our initial benefit, more slots page 1 on Google. Get our second initial benefit is every new slot we get, we actually kick off a competing boudoir photographer off page 1, effectively making them invisible. Now, this is super awesome. A lot of boudoir photographers feel like this is actually their benefit they like the best. Making other boudoir photographers become disappearing boudoir photographers on page 2, maybe on page 3, you know, and eventually those competitors' businesses disappear. And page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So this is where the GBC universe recommends hitting 3 out of 10 page 1 slots on Google search. And that's because basically everyone else will be 1 out of 10 slots. So we're going to be dominating all of them, looking totally different from all the others, really catching buyers' eyes because they're seeing our name so much. And if the off rare chance someone else has 2 slots, page 1 on Google, then we're still dominating them. And finally, we know that boudoir photographer with BSV, boudoir search visibility, is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. This is our micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. But we now have a solution. We can utilize S-cubed methodology. We achieve page one visibility. We become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, look at my results here utilizing S-cubed methodology for myself. I went to rank for the term BLCS boudoir and take as much page one slots as possible. So let's see the results I got by exclusively using S-cubed methodology. Let's get organic slot one here, Instagram. That's me. Slot two, me. Slot three, me. Slot four, me. Slot five, me. Slot six, me. Slot seven, me. Slot eight, me. Slot 10, me. And as a result, found from 0 out of 10 slots, page one Google search, to 9 out of 10 slots, page one Google search in only 10 days, purely utilizing S-cubed methodology. So these are the results that I got. Now we're here to the main event. We're gonna see if this boudoir photography business, the local and the city search, see what's happening for BSS boudoir search sameness. See if it's in the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page one on Google. All right, so we're going to LaPorte, Texas, and Houston. All right, LaPorte, Texas. All right, let's see. All right, going to the organics. All right, see what we got here. All right, boom, we got one. Boom, we got two. All right, so we've passed the BSS threshold. We do not have BSS. Boom, we got three. All right, we've hit the GBC recommended minimum. Boom, we got four. And all right, we got 4 out of 10 for local search. Good. So we don't have any BSS. We do not have, and we are hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page one on Google. Perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. All right, now I'm gonna check here. Houston, Texas. All right, let's see what we got. Nope, nope, nope. No, all right, we are not. So we are not even showing up. So we're at 0 out of 10. So local search, good. We're dominating that, and do not have BSS. We reached the GBC recommended minimum, 3 out of 10 slots, page one of Google. City search, Houston, we are not ranking at all. We got BSS for that one, and we're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page one on Google. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer and you've actually gone and done the local search for the highest intent keywords for your locale, and you've seen and you've also done it for your city, and you've seen that you got at least one of those has BSS, or you see that at least one you are not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page one on Google, then you're seeing this S-cubed methodology, like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. Maybe you had been thinking, how can we get more slots on page one on Google? So maybe you'd already broken through the false belief of page one equality, but now you're like, yes, S-cubed methodology, that's what I've been looking for. Even though you kind of didn't know what to expect or what it would look like, but you decided, yes, S-cubed methodology is your way to move forward. So you're like, heck yeah. And you're also understanding the initial benefits of it. More slots, page one. The two initial benefits: more slots, page one on Google, kick in more competing with boudoir photographers off page one, off to page two, effectively making them invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. And you understand the two prongs of market saturation. Getting new iPhone or getting new camera, so getting new gear, and you're looking ahead and you're saying, well, you understand AI is going to be taking a ton of people's jobs. So you're like, okay, that is actually going to be the biggest flood, the biggest force of more boudoir photographers into the marketplace, or people who are even those who are new to boudoir photography, going to compress margins for everyone, lower prices for everyone, going to basically force more competition, page one Google search. And so you're saying, all right, I actually need to not only get this many links on page one, you also need to fortify your position right now in preparation for all the new boudoir photographers coming into the market after AI starts taking more and more people's jobs every single day. And you're seeing S-cubed methodology is also a perfect thing for that as well. It's kind of like building the levees in Nolens, Louisiana, where that city is below sea level. And so once that happens, you're like, or once you're basically seeing the future right now. So you're like, the more links, momentum you can build up to get page one links on Google, the higher chance that the new Boudoir photographers never even reach page one, never even reach the links, um, on Google page one. And so when you, so you're seeing that, and SQ's methodology is the way forward, and you want to increase the, you want to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility, because you need those things in order to become #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you also understand kind of the long-term back-end benefits of successfully executing this SQ methodology every single day. And these successful benefits are, basically you're building up kind of these columns, these mindshare columns of peeps who are, kind of these invisible thematic keyword columns that actually, they're kind of like invisible. They're columns attached to, like, the Parthenon in Athens are kind of like invisible columns, like hubs, hub and spoke model. So like spokes onto a hub. And these things exist kind of like as AI mindshare. So you understand the future benefits, which is actually the more we successfully execute methodology, the higher probability we're going to be sort of appear AI overview on AI search. And so that probability kind of builds and builds and builds every single day that we do successfully execute methodology. And also the same goes for backend search. Like AI search, like ChatGPT search, like we got Perplexity, Claude, we got Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search, and you're seeing other feature benefits as we're successfully executing SQ methodology actually increase the probability we get a list on AI search for all those as well. So I know last time I searched for boudoir photographers in a city, ChatGPT, it literally recommended 3. And I actually went to go on Google for myself to look at, okay, how many are actually going to be, are actually out here. Dude, there's like 60, like Google Maps and Google Search all combined. And so I was like, all right, we got to do something to really increase the probability that we're increasing search here, that we get on these, because I know I don't standard Google search anything. I'm always using the Google AI overview. And so I know, yeah, standard Google search is still like approximately 90% of all searches, all the search market globally. But dude, AI search getting bigger and bigger every day. So you're seeing that, and you want to actually get kind of those bonuses, those momentum of being shown in these, increase the probability get shown in these searches. And as a result, you also understand that you decide to hop on this first because you'll actually be able to build a ton of momentum and separate yourself from all your competitors. Because I basically my plan currently is to only work with one boudoir photographer in each city. So you're seeing you can kind of close off your competitors from using this and put a massive gap between you and them before they even know what's going on, before they even know we've put in the effort to completely dominate page one Google search. And conversely, you're seeing that, oh man, if one of your competitors actually, if one of your competitors actually hops on this first and works with me, well then you'd have to rederive SQ methodology on your own correctly. And when you do that, you would never be 100% confident if you did it, derived it correct or not. And what would actually happen is you'd have to equal our execution. And when you equal our execution, you would simply be maintaining the gap me and your competitor would have already built up, kind of above you or ahead of you. So you'd maintain that gap. You'd actually have to double or triple our daily output of execution of SQ methodology to close that gap, kind of pull that AI mindshare brain momentum for those invisible thematic keyword columns away from your competitor and me and back towards yourself. And so it's like, dude, who's got the 80 hours in a day to do all that? So you decide, screw that. You're going to be the #1 first mover in your city. Lock the other peeps out. And so if that's you, shoot me a DM. My hospital is currently closed for new patient intake right now. So my DMs are currently closed. But when I do open up the hospital for new patient intake, then shoot me a DM and we'll see if you qualify to utilize our S-cubed methodology.